Humans didn't invent glue. Glue is pretty cool, and it is certainly something that is very useful in a number of ways. But did you know that humans, as we know them, were not the inventors? Instead, archaeologists have discovered that the first ever version of glue was created by the Neanderthals, approximately 200,000 years ago. We aren't quite sure exactly how they made it, as there are several different options, but it seems that they used a type of tar that was manufactured from the birch tree. It even seems complicated to us at this moment in time, so you can only imagine how tough it was all of those years ago. Okay, it might have been rudimentary glue, but it still worked and held the dangerous parts onto the wooden shaft of a spear for hunting, so it was still pretty important. So, the next time you use glue for anything, just give thanks to a species that has not existed for tens of thousands of years, because without them, who knows where we would be today. Liquid nitrogen can't freeze you. There have been several movies where the bad guy has been killed thanks to being covered in liquid nitrogen, resulting in them being frozen to the spot. It was even used in Terminator 2. However, the problem with this approach is that being hit by a blast of it will not kill you. Actually, it's just going to make you a bit cold. You see, it won't do anything to you, and it is used by some in different forms of therapy to help treat a number of ailments. So if it was deadly, as the movies tried to make it out, then why would it be used in that way? Now, we aren't saying that you should go and start playing around with it, but there's no doubt that the substance is far milder than you were perhaps initially aware. But then, who has some liquid nitrogen lying around in the first place? The alternative seven dwarves. Who doesn't love the Disney classic characters, the seven dwarves? However, even though the names of the final seven are quite well known, Walt Disney did have a number of other names under consideration during production. Some of the alternative options that were floating around included names such as Wheezy, Burpy, Tubby, and even Deafy, which would have been seen as absolutely horrific in the world today. You have to admit that those kinds of names just didn't have the correct ring around them, so it was best that they chose the names that we have all come to love and adore. Lobster wasn't always a delicacy. If you go into a seafood restaurant and order lobster, you know that it is more than likely going to hit you hard in the pocket. It is for that single reason that eating lobster is often reserved for a special occasion where you don't mind pushing the boat out a bit. However, rather surprisingly, this has not always been the case, as can be seen if you venture back into the earliest days of colonial America. At that time, lobster was so plentiful that you wouldn't just walk into a place that sold them and see a few in the tank with you, then making your decision. Instead, they were so bountiful that they were actually fed to prisoners, which you would never imagine happening in the world today. Just imagine the uproar if prisons around the world were feeding the inmates things such as lobster, and yet back in colonial times, it was seen as being nothing unusual. For us, eating lobster on a regular basis hardly sounds like a punishment, so it just shows how times have indeed changed so much. If you enjoyed this fun knowledge video, please like, share and subscribe to my channel for more educational videos to improve your English skills. See you next time.